There's a rain-soaked mattress on a concrete slab, only half covered by the crumbling roof. At the head of it, double embrasures, firing slits like two eyes in the wall.
This looks like a good place to aim from.
A single-person mattress, modern, civilian use. Brand name, Marjorie. There's a fuel stain on the cover, along with cigarette burns. And an empty can of beans on the ground next to it, filled to the brim with cigarette butts. The silhouette of a tobacco picker adorns the paper filter. The brand, Tio Moteri. Contemporary Revacholians prefer Juan, a local blend from the southern islands, or Astra, the legendary cigarette from Grad. Tio Moteri is favored by older men for its paper filter tips, sweet smell, and added tar.
I saw the same brand of cigarettes extinguished in Land's End.
Could be a coincidence. Or the same person has visited Land's End and here. I didn't see any signs of smoking inside though. If people live there, they keep it tidy. This here may also be a smoking spot.
There's a firing slit in the wall in front of you, like a little window. Quite old and grimy from years without cleaning by anything other than the rain. The springs screech as you lean on the mattress and crane your neck to look out. Trepidation, a tingling feeling in your stomach. A small piece of Martinez coastline opens up in the square in front of you, like a tiny landscape painting. 1 kilometer across the water, the ruins look familiar. A towering skyscraper, its top floors shaved off by artillery fire. Capeside apartments, Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A and 33B. The red chimney and collapsed back of the 4-story tenement in front of the Whirling in Rags, Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 10, the doomed commercial area. The box-shaped silhouette of the Whirling in Rags. Its sloped roof, a tiny fleck of light catches your eye on the rooftop. Sunlight reflecting off the upstairs window of Clausia's room.
Motherfucker!
What does that mean? Do you have line of sight to the window?
More than that.
Kim, with a pair of binoculars, I would be able to see inside the room.
Whenever you wanted, like your own little dollhouse.
A pair of binoculars? Or a scope of a rifle? You'd be prone, lying on a mattress, barrel resting on the embrasure.
Cheek against a cheek rest, hand on the hair trigger, on a calm day like this.
Kim, I could make it. I could make that shot.
Good. I think we have it, Detective. The origin of the shot. This is the sniper's nest.
Affirmative.
Booyah! Master cop work.
It's only moderately effective cop work until we have the weapon. It will not be, how do you say it, booyah, until we have that.
Could the shooter still be here?
Where?
Right here.
You think so? We would see them if they were here.
Perhaps it's a...
No, officer. It's not an invisible shooter. But this island, on the other hand.
You think he's here?
Or she. We should move.
The litany of contact Mike. 5,000 to 1 ranked outsider. No one saw it coming. The mantle of a game changer demands intangible qualities. Fights are not won. You're thinking instead of doing detective work right now. Fights are made, blow by blow. Let's take it, Mike to the Mikey. Some low-intensity part of you has entered a sports cliché-driven fugue state, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Also, Mike knew what it took to win. He just wanted it more. This old cylindrical generator waits with its fuel cap open. Makeshift electrical wiring runs out of its side and across the floor. The lieutenant assists you, holding the canister up to the fuel tank as you tilt. Dark brown, viscous fluid pours out, and the room fills with a chemical smell. There's a red starter switch on the side of the cylinder and a start rope on the other side. The lieutenant flicks the switch. The recoil start wakes the old generator up. The machine sputters like an old warhorse before settling down to a rattle.
That should do it.
A dim golden glow animates the console. Faint, like a ghost light. Urgence ouvert reads one dial key. Allumer reads another.
It's on. Turn emergency open.
Automatic boot.
Could this open the blast door?
I think, yes. Let's see. That one. The emergency open.
The lighting in the room turns on with a sizzle, a dim ambient orange. The dial slides under the dusty glass. Dark, an idea lights up in your head.
Maybe you could contact Suna, the programmer lady. She could open the door for us remotely.
This is an air-gapped system. Of air, I think they call it. That won't work.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not. But it would not be very good military technology if programmer ladies could control it remotely. Also, it's ancient, incompatible.
The blast door opens with a series of clicks. A shaft of light appears, then widens as the light shines in. A sudden wave of anxiety makes your skin crawl. No, it's more than that. There's something there, waiting.
After you.
Before, outside, when we were walking across the sand, I felt someone watching me.
So did I. Not back there, but I felt it since we came here.
What's there?
I don't know.
A thin wisp of smoke rises from a charred black fire pit. The wind picks up, then dies down again.
I'm scared.
Don't be. I have a gun.
I also have a gun.
I know. It was not easy to acquire.
Let's go.
An old man, wearing tracksuit trousers, leans on the frame stock of his rifle. He gathers a big ball of spit in his mouth, then spits it out into the extinguished fire before him. He raises his black eyes, hooded by creased eyelids, to meet yours. Unclouded by cataracts, his eyesight is sharp. He's practically tearing up from spite. Hatred got the best of him a long time ago. This man hates everything.
Are you the fire guy?
The what now? I can't hear you.
Did you recently tell two kids to put out their fire? Two twins?
I may have. All sorts of little rats have come sniffing around, trying to give up the position.
The position sounds like a hiding place.
Fire guy. Regressive bourgeoisie henchman. Can't even talk like a grown-up.
You've retained your eyesight.
My eyesight? Yes. Helps me see all the shit.
A shudder of disgust passes his left side. His right side remains motionless.
Did you close the blast door?
I did. And you opened it. How?
I fueled the generator, then used the console.
I should have burned that console down.
How did you know I was coming?
Reactionary rock and roll music. Playing on the water.
Told you we shouldn't play sad FM.
It was not rock and roll. It was sad FM.
Sad FM, huh? I always hated that station. Phlegmatic, counter-revolutionary dirges. Sadness is a mental illness, a weapon of the bourgeoisie. The fascists were right about rock and roll. It is degenerate, hip gyrating, mental illness music.
Nice gun you got there.
It's not nice. It's a piece of shit. But it gets the job done.
Is that a Belle McGrave?
It's a Triangong 446.
Southeast Samarin made. Exotic. Must be defunct too. No modern rifle manufacturer of that name springs to mind.
A Samaran rifle. How did you get hold of one?
It was sent to us by our brothers in the Signal commune. Military aid.
It has stayed true to him. He can still make it sing.
The Signal commune?
You heard me. It's good now. Like chalk, wiped from the board.
He's right. Almost no one remembers there was a third metastasis of the world revolution in the Safre Empire, extinguished in '06.
It's not wiped from the board. I remember it.
They wouldn't like hearing their name in your mouth. Damn dog.
The time will come to win his trust, comrade. It is not now. You need to take care of the gun first.
Your weapon has stayed true to you. Mine has stayed true to me too.
Yes, I bet you've killed a lot of people with it. You fascist fuck. Have you come to make me one of them?
His left eye twitches. With what? Fear? Rage?
We have come to ask you questions, nothing more. If you do not comply, we will take you in. Do you understand?
Another spitball lands in the ashes. That's all the answer he gives. The danger levels here are hard to read. One moment he's afire, the next, a fire gone out.
Sir, I need you to put down that gun so we can talk further. We're with the police.
The lieutenant pulls his pistol from the holster.
You are a glorified night watchman. This is a service rifle. I can only lay it down before an enemy commander of corresponding rank.
His elbows rest on the frame stock, calmly for now. But he may still get it in his hands. Looks like he knows the weapon. You don't see a magazine in the well. Yell at him now. Loud.
Put the weapon down now!
He scoffs. The corner of his black eye twitches. He does not reply to the command. He is not afraid of such displays. This was the wrong move.
You don't even have a magazine.
You're right. It's a good thing I got one in the chamber.
Oh, wait. Yes. Look at him raise his bushy eyebrows. That's a lie. He's empty.
I am an enemy commander of rank. Put it down.
The words, I am an enemy commander, sound cold as iron from your lungs. The old man still hugs his gun.
And what rank would that be, dog?
Lieutenant W. Freighter.
A big wheel of the 4th Regiment of the Pederast Army. To hell with it. It's a walking stick anyway.
You were right.
It's out of bullets.
Like an amputated limb in the sand. He stares on, his wrinkled mouth moving without a sound. A strange sadness, like a song.
What did you say?
The future teaches you to be alone.
The present.
The present?
The present to be afraid and cold.
Those words. The future teaches you.
Real music. Real Brilliant Kult. That's La Chevalier, not your rock and roll misanthropy.
Marching song. Forget about that for a moment. You need to address that remark first.
I'm not a misanthrope. I'm a half-dead police officer who's just doing his job.
The job of a shitlicker.
I know La Chevalier is the marching song of the world revolution.
There you go. One of three. In Grad, they sang Brave Children, favorites of history. And in Sinyao, it was some Samaran shit, I guess.
In Sinyao, they sang Boy with a Scythe, Golden Sun.
First, it wasn't some Samaran shit. It was Boy with a Scythe.
I fucking know what they sang. I watched those little fuckers die in my arms. Little ones came to help us. Got cut to shreds. You don't fucking tell me what they sang.
His nostrils are still flaring with rage. He brings himself back under his own stewardship, slowly.
La Chevalier. I've heard that name. Somewhere else. In a dream.
Everyone has. They named a fucking perfume after it.
No, that's not it. I've talked to her.
Talk to her?
Yes. Get these cold spells.
It's the drugs you're all on. Druggies, whiners, and whores.
There was something there when he said, talked to her. He was curious. All around you, the air slowly circulates the islet, carrying little swallows and black-beaked seagulls in its slow drift. They all, every one of them, every bird, mammal, and crustacean,
What?
keep their distance.
When I said I've talked to her, you were curious.
I've seen kids lose their minds and start talking to the city, asking it to protect them when the shelling gets bad, calling it La Chevalier. Cities can't talk. It's bourgeois idealism. I don't want to talk about this shit anymore.
How does it go? The song?
How did it go? Something about shooting rabbits. I don't know. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It's gone now.
He waves erratically with his hand, annoyed that he can't remember. A little tremor passes through him. It was dear to him. He resents forgetting it. So, if I can shoot rabbits, then I can shoot fascists too. Those are the next lines.
So if I can shoot rapids, then I can shoot fascists too.
What are you talking about?
He doesn't recognize it. Embers going out. His gaze follows your motions. The rifle feels surprisingly light in your hand. Frame stopped and patched in places with tape and wire. Still warm from his parched hands. Not the metal. The metal is ice cold. This weapon has been modified several times. The rifle's in a shabby state, like a crutch that's seen too much travel. Hieroglyphs are embossed into the forearm, made of walnut. They say Triangong 4.46, Sin Yao Commune, for Safre and for all mankind.
I know, seriously.
This is the Vulgate Seraïs. You can barely intuit the words. No is stretching it.
Kim, I know Cerise.
What does it say?
For Safre, for all mankind.
That's what the little guys told us. Every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, they'd go on and on about their Safri, their mankind, and Mazov. Those men were commandos. They weren't shit on a stick like us. They were small and...
On the butt, you see Vespertine writing, burnt into the wood. Triangong 4.46mm, made in Sin Yao.
It's as he said, it's a triangle made in Sin Yao.
Worn, personalized even. Looks like this weapon has seen a lot of use, hasn't it, sir?
No response from the old man. The plastic cape around his shoulders rustles in a small bout of wind.
This uses jacked ammunition 4.46.
Jacketed, military-grade ammunition. Stable in flight. Good for hitting something that's very, very far away.
As he speaks, he stresses every word. He's liking this.
The rifle has been patched and modified several times.
I wonder how old it is.
The old man does not answer. He just stares in front of him. The old man keeps following your motion with his gaze. His right arm twitches suddenly. Some kind of involuntary response. Something is slightly off with his motorics. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It could be used against him to get a confession in time.
Who are you?
My name is Josef Lilianovich Dross, Political Commissar of the 114th Anti-Aircraft Division of the 4th Army of the Commune of Revachol. I am a deserter, a partisan, and a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender.
There, behind them, across the delta, the Insacom building. Coalition government in Celindian mission control.
The commune of Revachol? Do you mean the ICM? You're a holdover from the...
From the Insulindian Citizens Militia, the army of the revolution. I was recruited in Jamrock in 07, trained in the École de Contrôle Orient, and consigned to emergency defense duties in 08. I left my unit on the eve of the landing. When I returned here on May 14th, the commune had fallen. Still armed and ideologically trained, I wrote a criticism of myself and resumed partisan duties.
51 minus 8 equals 43.
You've been on this island for 43 years.
No. I've been on other islands, too. I was an Resurrection until they turned it into a spa in 18. Then I was an E-48, a nameless sound, until the sea washed over it. Then I came back here. That was 22 years ago.
Again, you've been hiding here for 43 years.
43 years and 10 months.
That's steadfast.
It's not how a human being should live. But I had to. I couldn't just forget. I couldn't just forget what I saw.
He just couldn't.
He couldn't give up.
He nods. But he can now.
What have you been doing during all this time?
Hiding, fishing, waiting.
Where the afternoon grows late, on Rue de Saint-Ghislain, people walk home. Street lights will soon be lit. Further inland, the streets are alive with workers, men, women, children, street hawks and migrant laborers. The temperature is steady. Alto cumulus clouds form above Precinct 41. Two police officers step out of the Whirling in Rags cafeteria. Satellite officer Jean-Vic Mayer inspects a series of burnt black letters splashed across the plaza mosaic. Patrol officer Judith Minot points west. The fishing village. She glances at her watch. We meet in 15 minutes. It's a 10-minute walk. The officers go, leaving behind the writing, still smoldering. One day, it says, I will return to your side.
Always waiting
For what?
for her to return.
Her who?
Girl, child, revolution.
Girl, child, revolution.
Always.
She's better come. I too have given my life to Mazovian socioeconomics.
A waste. The material base for an uprising has eroded. The working class has betrayed mankind and themselves. The historic opportunity for a revolution has passed. It will not come back anymore, however hard I try, whatever I do.
What has he done? Perhaps a confession will lighten the load.
What have you done then?
Yes, what? To get things going again? Fan the flame?
There is no flame to fan. There is nothing left of the world, of our dreams.
You said you deserted your unit?
I was just 16 years old, 15 when I volunteered. I had a lapse of faith. And of courage, too.
Lapse of faith?
You could say I misunderstood the historic role of the proletariat and thought Mazovian socioeconomics were fallible. For a second, I doubted the irreducible laws of historic materialism. A second is all it took
For what?
for reaction to take hold.
What's reaction?
Petty bourgeois terror. It's in all men.
Yes, we all have a tiny bourgeois person in us, trying to run away.
He does not seemingly react to what you said. Only his right brow moves a little. He does not believe a police officer is genuinely revolutionary.
And this was when?
He is still not convinced of his safety. You should not be either.
May the 13th, 08, 44 years ago. The horizon was black with coalition airships. Their petroleum rose to the sky, and it looked like it formed the clouds, storm clouds. When they started shelling, it was dark magic.
Dark magic?
The combined might of international capital. All at once, all the greed and terror in the world tore into Revachol. It lifted streets from the ground and turned houses into ghosts. We were in the flak tower, huddled on the floor. The artillery was 80 kilometers away in Ozon, but I knew the commune would fall. We would all be turned into ash. So I said I was going to the map room.
A terrible shame still within him. The lobes of his ears are red with it, the shame and smallness of what he became.
You didn't go to the map room.
No. I climbed the chain link across the water and hid inland, in the bunkers there, like the weakest of the weak. A mouse, frightened of the ordnance all night, and the sound of the rotors in the morning, whirring.
What was that?
Airships. I climbed out into hell. The landing was complete. The chain was submerged. I had to swim back. The fortress was half submerged too, shattered. They'd all drowned in the lower levels or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality.
Some kind of great terror, worse than you've ever seen.
Seen what?
The mask of humanity fall from capital. It has to take it off to kill everyone, everything you love. All the hope and tenderness in the world. It has to take it off just for 1 second to do the deed. And then you see it, as it strangles and beats your friends to death. The sweetest, most courageous people in the world. You see the fear and power in its eyes. Then you know.
What?
That the bourgeois are not human.
I've always suspected the same.
Now is not the time, Lieutenant Yefreto.
I had to. I had to fight it. I could not stop anymore.
These eyes are charred black by the images that have entered them.
What is this place? This island?
It's not an island, Dwight. It's a defensive fortification of the commune of Revachol. And I am its last surviving defender.
What was it used for?
The congenitally deformed King Philip II built it to restrict access to the Bay of Revachol. We captured it in '02, retrofitted the fort with an AA gun to defend against an airborne landing. Against the whole world.
You mean G-landing? Retaking of Revachol?
Coalition military called it Operation Deathblow. I later found out on the radio they called it Deathblow. You're one of them. Tell me, who speaks like that? We had 50 million people on Caillou alone.
First, I'm not one of them.
Sure you are. You're RCM. Answer me. Who calls an operation against 50 million people Deathblow?
Murderers. I know what you mean.
You don't know. You haven't seen it. Iblis,
Iblis.
the black-eyed angel.
Shaitan Ahura, the Darkened One.
How have you survived all this time?
How does anyone survive? I steal.
Now hold on there.
That's a choice. You could have become self-employed. Create the system.
You're insane and grotesque. Everyone steals. Vegetables, supplies. It's the life of a dog.
How is your health, Mr. Dross?
I've been throwing up blood since winter. Red, like beetroot. Been passing it in stool, too.
He does seem frail. Gaunt for his age. More like 75 than 65. Trouble putting on weight could mean cancer.
The RCM can provide medical services. You need to be looked over.
I need to die. You don't have medical facilities. You have guns. That's all they give you. Toy guns.
You also have Druamine.
We have Druamine and other opioid-based painkillers. You must be in pain.
I have been running out of that stuff.
There's no way he could manage the pain without them. It's safe to say he is addicted to painkillers by now.
You like that Druamine, don't you?
It's the little joys. A dark joke, a sunshiny day, morphine.
This is a serious situation. You need to be looked over and we can do it.
There's nothing to look over. The triage is in, and it's black. Administer morphine. Moribund.
How have you coped mentally?
I haven't. I have holes in my brain. Years missing. Others filled with pain only. A decade of... I don't even know what. Inferno?
I also live in hell.
At least you know it. The traders of this city turned the lights back on in the 30s, after the fighting stopped. Ruins, glittering in the dark like a fucking merry-go-round. It's disgusting.
Are they not heartbroken? How could they have moved on?
How have you concealed yourself all these years?
It was hard in the tens. I didn't have partisan training. They were searching for stragglers, those bloodhounds. Floodlights on the water at night.
There were posters, campaigns.
We communards still hoped, and they needed to snuff that hope out. The East capitulated. Martinez and Cold City were turned to dust. But Jamrock, Forburg, even Coron, and Boogie Street, of course. Those fucking kips had Marsov coursing through their veins. And others too. Some cordons of Revachol was still fighting. There were cells. I tried to contact them. Soon they all went silent. The frequencies dead.
How did you get between here and the mainland?
At night, I used a dinghy. I only went after dark then. When I got to the city, I stayed underground. Patrols, you lot, the commons too. They'd started snitching.
In the city, you move underground?
From bunker to bunker. Not anymore. No one cares now. I don't even have to hide. They think I'm another antisocial vagrant. I could walk straight into that town if I wanted.
Why don't you just walk there?
I don't want to. They're all traitors. Pigs, rabbits, and dogs. Men without ideals are only animals.
He does not want to see life moving on. People forgetting, drinking, laughing.
The weapons cache under St. Ghislaine 22B, in the basement. Have you been there?
So you finally found it. There must have been a small squadron's worth of arms in there. Elmer Graves, right?
They were damaged beyond use.
I know.
So you've been there?
Sleeping. Some nights. Ammo scrounging on others. Those McGraves were shit, even before they corroded. Some had bullets in the chamber, however.
You feel the dots connecting. Little dots on the map he's walked across. Wait, how did he get down there?
How did you access the building? It's locked. At least nowadays.
I didn't have to. Came in through the storm drains.
Storm drains?
There used to be a system that connected the bunkers, tunnels and such. under the church, and everywhere. Most of them are gone now. Collapsed. Just bricks. All the old infrastructure has...
There's a small bunker under the Feld building. Have you stayed there?
The propaganda bunker. I used to, but not anymore.
Propaganda bunker?
They stored leaflets there. Broadcasting equipment, too. Made broadcasts, I think. Propaganda officers. I buried them with their leaflets. They killed themselves. 2 young boys.
Killed themselves?
A lot of our boys did. I spent some winters there. Never liked it. Kept thinking of them. No need to go underground anymore. It's better in the ruins, on the ground.
One more question. Do you smoke Timotiri cigarettes?
I do.
Ever smoke them on the mainland?
They're good. Plenty of tar. I like that boy on the pack, too. Reminds me of the last century.
Tell me another thing.
The old man looks across the water, at the city, the ruins, the motorways rising above it.
You said this is your termless surrender.
You're with the RCM, the coalition-appointed mob that enforces bourgeois morals in Revachol, a so-called Lieutenant W. Freighter.
I know what it looks like, but I have a secret plans to turn the RCM into a Mazovian revolutionary unit.
Rock and roll posturing. You're the RCM. You represent the Moralist International, the enemies of humanity who took this city. I represent their adversary, le Parti Communiste Insolente. Take me to them as a prisoner of war. I have relinquished my weapon. I can no longer serve. No superiors can relieve me of my duty. You bulldoze them all to a mass grave for trying to free humanity.
A spray of blood from his mouth on the black charcoal in the fire pit.
So you're a communist soldier from the communist army?
No, I am not a soldier. I am an ideological officer. I belong to the party, not the army.
But you said you were trained and assigned to the defense corps.
Trained in historical materialism, then assigned as a political commissar by the party. These things used to mean something.
Wait, what does a political commissar do?
The old man does not answer. He tilts his silver head and looks at the reeds. You see a small tremor pass through his legs.
His job was to assure the army answers to civilian control and follows the ideology of the Commune.
Scientific communism. A commissaire politique is a night philosopher of the revolution, a future human.
Awakened from shutdown by the promise of ideology, he was like a cleric, a shepherd.
So you were like a priest?
No, the opposite of that. A future human, not a human of the past.
That means you're a trained communist, right?
He nods slowly, then another tremor.
I'm also a communist.
No, you're not. You're a liberast.
Liberast?
A liberal and a pederast. It's what most liberals are.
I'm not a liberal. I told you I'm a communist.
Detective, we have not come here to discuss ideology. We have come to ask questions regarding a murder investigation.
The old man spits into the fire pit. He does not say anything more. A jitter passes his lower body. The expression on his face is unreadable. There's some sort of interference there. Neurological. There's definitely something off with his body. Something more than just metabolism, or even cancer.
I have another serious question for you.
There's nothing serious in this world. It's a farce.
What have you been using this gun for?
I've used it for killing people.
Here we go. A trail of blood. The lieutenant smells it too.
Killing people?
It's a gun. That's what they're for. You want a moralist euphemism? Defending your family and your property. I haven't done that. I've used it to kill people.
Interesting. During or after the war?
There is no after the war. Class war is never over.
So he's continued killing after hostilities ended. Okay. This is it. You can feel it, like battery acid on the tip of your tongue. Something you haven't felt in a while.
But what?
This is what you live for. This is the shit. The great serotonin jackpot. The solution. Go in straight. No euphemisms. He doesn't like those. No. Be careful now. Slow and steady does it. Make him repeat it first. Don't mess this up. Remember, he wants to tell you. Get personal.
So you're saying you killed people after active fighting stopped?
What did I just say?
What did I just tell you? Don't drop the ball now.
I know you want to tell me. Have you killed anyone with that gun in the last week or two?
I don't want to tell you anything, you grotesque murderer.
And why did you think that was a good idea? Don't listen to me. I'm wrong all the time.
Wait, so which one do I say then?
Nothing comes to you. Silence. His black eyes look at you. And in them, a chill, like electricity running up your spine, crawling into your skull.
What?
All is not as it seems.
Detective.
Damn it. Ask it already, he wants to say.
Did you use that gun to shoot and kill a colonel of the security contractor Crenell?
The who now?
He heard you. He just wants to hear you say it again. This is dramatic flair on his part. Right choice. We're in. Do it, sire.
A beautiful, strong man sent here by the Honorable Private Military Company Crenell.
What?
He died in the arms of a lover, guarding her and the fragile, beautiful corporate interests of Wild Pines against military labor.
Are you being clever? What is this socially abhorrent joke?
Watch your mouth, Mr. Dross.
I'm absolutely sincere. Now, did you use that rifle to shoot him?
I am a son of a welder and an officer of the commune of Revachol. I do not collaborate with murderers and pederasts of the liberal regime.
A drop of blood in the saliva. Tear into him. Pile it on him. Everything you got on him. The more, the better. The gun. The murder weapon is the perfect opener. The scent of blood in the air. But what else? There was something you can't remember. Something about the tracks. Suddenly, all those tracks are so confusing. Go with something else first.
You're a communist. I talked to the dead man. He told me communism killed him.
Stupid twat.
The lieutenant looks at you with worry in his eyes. Not this, he seems to say. Anything but this.
You fucked with the wrong police officer. I have paranatural abilities.
Nature does not behave in a paranatural manner. Aberrant bourgeois musings, magic earl creatures, and esoteric sensations. It's all crypto-fascism. Your brain is rotting from the radio waves.
He does not answer the provocation. It does not look like he thinks this approach worked. Yeah, this just did nothing. But still, somehow you knew it was a communist.
Is this the miracle?
No, the miracle is still waiting. This is the darkness.
How?
Perhaps you suspected it before you took the case. The vision was you remembering that.
But this did nothing.
Was it supposed to?
I will look deeper then.
The inland sea is dark, vast, and on the surface, meaningless.
But aren't I way out in the west?
You are. Soon it will happen.
Standing there, slack-jawed, brain festering.
I don't need your cooperation. I've got this.
Not a lot of guns around that use military-grade ammunition, are there?
It's a real gun. Not like your little musketeer pistol. I've seen you prance around with that, jumping hoops for the liberals. You look like imbeciles. Why don't you ask them to give you real weapons, eh? Going against automatic rifles with a flame bomb. Of course you got all those boys killed.
Damn, he saw you. He's watched it happen. He would have a good view of the tribunal from here. It's not just empty boasting. So he saw you. Okay. So what? Don't let it divert you.
Stop changing the subject. We have the murder weapon.
You know what? You're right. I'm convinced this made the shot. Should we call it?
You think we have the murder weapon?
4.46 jacketed ammunition, modified for range. We have it. This is it.
I'm calling it. We have the murder weapon.
Good. This feels good, doesn't it? Tearing things up like this. When you have the murder weapon, you have the killer.
Murder.
Like a marionette on some invisible string. This pushed him, but not enough. Just a little more.
We've done the ballistics. The shot came from this island.
I saw you poking around there, looking for evidence. You're damn diligent when it comes to dead fascies. Did you like the view?
You had direct visibility. There are embrasures in the concrete, specifically meant for a top follower to use. And you had a long-range rifle in your possession. You've been here a long time, Mr. Dross. Too long. You clearly need medical aid.
I'm ready to die. I've done my part.
He's practically admitting to it. Dead fascists for fascists. Done his part. Just one thing remains unclear. The rifle does not seem to have a scope.
One thing. Where's the scope? How'd you make the shot without a scope? We have everything else.
Forget about your stupid fucking scope. I don't know where it is. Find it yourself. It's your problem now.
He lost it. He just doesn't know where it is. Forget it. Push on.
You said fascist. You're admitting you killed him?
You're sad for your fascia brother, aren't you? One twig got broken. Now the others are sad.
Almost. He almost burst out there. Keep piling arguments. Anything.
Come on, what am I forgetting?
Wait, here it comes. The goddamn Maybells. The dried Maybells on Clausia's roof.
Oh, yes.
There were Maybells in the grass when you got here. They're revolutionary symbols from the war. Nowhere else, nowhere in all of Martinez have you seen them this spring. Wait, don't forget the footprints. The diagonal prints in the dust in the secret space behind Clausia's bedroom. Now, they're gonna come up.
Of course. Thank you, Head. Thank you.
You got it. Remember? The boot prints were like no modern soul. Maybe don't beat yourself anymore, though. You're not immortal.
I wonder what brand of boots you're wearing.
Everything is brands with you individualists. Who cares what brand my shoes are? Sansa? Some shit.
Show me the souls, please, Mr. Dras.
Fucking imbecile.
The maker is Sensorique. The model is Corbe, and the size is 43. These are not the unusual horizontal pattern soles you saw in the dust on the floor of the hidden room. They do, however, seem to be about the same size.
The size fits, but not the sole.
Wait, maybe it's simpler than that.
Sire, he doesn't have to be wearing them right now.
People change shoes. Doesn't mean you weren't there. Near the room the victim died in, sneaking around.
Racking those brains, are you? Desperate to report something back to your masters? They must have really loved that dead fuck.
The lieutenant gives you a quick sideways glance and nods to acknowledge. The prints were his. You can see it in those eyes. He can't keep them from flickering, looking for something. The old man stares at his own prints in the ash around the fire. Silent suddenly, some strange process within him. A gush of wind. Seagulls in the distance. You've almost got him. Just the last little push.
There were Maybells behind the victim's window.
Damn Maybells. The whole island is turning white with them.
He seems tender suddenly, nostalgic even. A strange mood swing.
So many this year, too? The spring is coming. No, it's already here. Wash the filth away.
I haven't seen these flowers anywhere else in Martinez. Only here.
They blossom on the islets before. We fertilize them with our blood. Resurrection was snow white in May, before they ruined it.
South, the Bay of Martinez is dotted with little freckles of islets, turning green, with white flowers in white snow.
The coast, too, before they piled their containers on top of it, filled with broken, useless trash for fat-fingered bourgeois children to play with.
You must get around a lot to stay undetected all these years. Do you know any secret paths? Pinball workshops?
I may.
A young woman called Klasia. Ring any bells? These dried flowers were behind her window.
Classier.
He repeats the name with care, as if it were at risk of breaking. He knows her, but hadn't heard the name.
Yes, Klasia. You hadn't heard her name, had you?
My ears don't reach the city.
You like that name, don't you? She had intimate relations with the victim, the mercenary.
With the victim.
There is a small tremble, looks like a smile, a crooked smile, yet isn't quite voluntary. He's about to burst.
You know who he was. A coalition-trained murderer, armored and armed. He wasn't human. The blunt end of a hammer. dripping with blood.
He was a killer, but he was still under the protection of the law.
Beating us to the ground, moaning with joy. You hounds get so thorough when a company-trained killer dies. I haven't seen you on this coast for 40 years. You know, maybe I should have killed one sooner. Got your attention. Now you stop beating druggies and prostitutes in your basement. Now you come to investigate. Not when they die by the hundreds.
This is it. Shot him. Shot him. Say shot him, not killed him.
So you shot him.
Oh, the inhumanity. One paramilitary less in Revachol.
The lieutenant raises his right arm to hush you. Hush. He does not need to be pushed anymore. The ball is rolling. While the lieutenant listens, holding his breath.
I had them in my sights. Both of them. Him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in phase. And I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth. I didn't think I had a shot like that in me anymore. I did. I saw him kneel there with his mouth full of death, and that stupid look on his face. And his dick still in her.
There, a hot flash of rage almost carries the smile away. Some dark peace.
Then what?
Nothing. I went to sleep. Next morning there were Maybells everywhere. The world was white. Or what's left of it anyway. My last spring here. I knew the fascists would come to avenge their own. And so they did.
Mr. Dross, are you aware you're confessing to murder?
Yes.
And you were looking at Dan, the victim and a young woman, having sex through the scope of your rifle that night, before you shot him?
The old man nods.
Why?
Because that's what they were doing.
The motive. This is where the motive is going to come from. You can coax it out of him. The lieutenant's preparing the ground.
I don't understand. Do you, detective? I don't understand this part.
Why were you looking at them that night?
I'm always looking.
Are you always looking through the scope of a rifle? I'm just trying to understand.
A rifle scope has the best magnification.
Helps him see all the shit.
And if you don't like it?
Click.
If it's part of the shit you see?
Then you pull the trigger?
Yes. Think of it as a form of critique.
He will not stop now. These dialectical materialist types never do. Exploit it. We've got him going. Connect every little piece now. Wrap this up like a gift. Start with when he first saw him. It will give him a chance to ramble.
When did you first see the deceased?
3 weeks ago, when the rich hag came in on her galley. Her honor guard came in tow.
Joyce. He means Joyce.
By that you mean Joyce Messier, the Wild Pines rep?
Wrinkled up whore.
What is it with these whores and pederasts? Aren't you a communist?
Black sexual morals are a bourgeois ploy. As to pederasty, the party legalized it in '04. My party, not your liberal masters. So don't you sermonize me, you racist shithole. It's still bourgeois when the bourgeois does it, fiddling with their sexual organs.
Some strange glandular process takes place in him at the thought, like yeast rising. And anger too, in addition to loneliness.
Moving on, the victim arrives sometime after her.
They moved into a deserted apartment above the roundabout. Radio equipment out for all to see. Reactionary radio playing, sloppy and drunk. I've seen their kind during the landing. Those Occidental and masked phalangs weren't conscripts. Boys like us. They were whites. All they know is to destroy and hurt.
White.
Barely alive. They like to kill while they're on their drugs. After the landing, in the burning years, I would take shots at them. End them. The worst one, if I had a bullet to spare. I could see they've returned now to show their real face. The face they don't dare show their bourgeois voters back on Mundi with their families and polyester clothes.
What specifically did you not like about what you saw the night of the murder?
Them. Fucking. I didn't like that.
So you were jealous?
Jealousy is a reactionary concept. I didn't like the Reaver enjoying himself, drugged out, soothed in the arms of a young woman. I wanted him to die so he could not enjoy life anymore.
For him to stop reacting to stimuli, to be broken off from the world, cordoned into darkness.
And I wanted to see his head explode. That too. She should know better than to hold a child murderer between her thighs. I knew he'd be there for one more second, writhing. That's all it takes for the bullet to reach his head. Now that I think of it, I wasn't aiming for his mouth. I wanted his brains to spill out on her. But you can't have everything.
Her body sweating from the drugs, slick from cerebral hemorrhage. This man has seen past her, like you did. And now he longs to see her covered in blood. To punish her.
How long had you been watching her?
Since she came to Martinez, I saw her sneaking in the reeds early in the morning, behind the Fell building. It was dark, still winter. She didn't have her skimpy outfit on then, just a spot in the night, moving.
Past the Fell building on the coast? What was she doing there?
Hiding something in the water. She had a fag after she'd done it. I was up in the ruins there. She couldn't see me, but I could see her, smoking. She was nervous, but not scared.
And beautiful.
And beautiful.
That, too.
How could you see what she looked like? You said it was dark.
The sun came up. Her hair was like cobwebs. She smoked more fags and snorted a line of whatever shit she was on right there. She needed it just to move.
What do you think she hid there?
Her passport and tickets to Villiers. And from there to Cachet Brut.
In the free state of Seminine, hidden away at the edge of the earth, near the Pale.
This is the hidden boy she told us about. You looked into it?
After she was gone,
Did you keep what was in it? When we found the submersible, it was empty.
no. Why would I do that? I didn't need tickets to Villiers. I'd put them back. If I wanted to extort someone, I'd do better.
This implies that he's thought about extorting her. Also, a little inconsistency here. He was surprised to hear her name Clausia before. Would he not have seen it on the documents?
Are you sure? We checked the submersible. There was nothing there.
Why would I need that trash? I'm not going to Villiers.
There it is again. The strange neurological state he's sometimes in.
You saw her name on the passport, but before, when I said her name is Klasha, you didn't seem to recognize it.
You didn't say Clausia in there.
What did he say her name was in the passport?
It was something. I don't remember. It was dark that morning. I only remember her face on the photo.
Moving on, did you continue watching her after this?
I did. She had a face like an archipelago with those birthmarks, and a body hard and lean and bruised all over, black and yellow. I could see she's taken a beating. I could see who she was, too. A spook, on the run. Revachol's the cloaca of capital now. All the bagmen and arms dealers end up here to do drugs and have sex like animals.
You could tell she was a spook from the documents?
She had different color hair on the photo, and glasses. Forged. Some sordid bourgeois affair. I've heard about this kind of thing on the radio.
He's setting it up for you. The bruises, you can't make that out in a scope.
And you could see her bruises through the scope of a rifle?
You can't see bruises through a scope. It's just a blur.
How does he know those minute details about her body?
It quickly comes to you.
The bruises on her body. Any chance you've seen them through a hole in a wall?
Oh, yes. Cutting those drugs of hers into little lines with a knife. Masturbating.
Everything in him fills with impossible longing, all at once.
Did you make that hole?
With a clip point knife.
Good for listening in, too. For hearing the moaning and the snorts.
Ever see her through a window on the roof?
Like that, too. Yes. Bending like a bow against the glass.
You've been through the secret route behind the whittling in racks. Those were your footprints there. You just changed your shoes.
I've been through all of Martinez. Every nook and cranny.
And that too?
Yes, that too. The things they did in that little room. What she'd do to feel good. Funny the way light works. You turn it on inside, and it gets so dark out, you can't see a man looking in. I learned that in the 20s, when they were still hunting me. I've seen people do some shit, but...
Those two took the cake. You hear the familiar scribble of the lieutenant's pen. A quick glance at you. One more loose end down. We're doing this, detective.
How did you get in there? The hidden pinball workshop.
I can just walk in there now after a good wash. I told you, they think I'm an antisocial. Closing hour is a good time. The kitchen's empty.
You had to open the steel door in the kitchen? How?
I got that open a long time ago. Some bourgeois game merchant lived there. I don't know, 15 years ago. He left spare keys all over, and I took one. Then I saw her turn the light on one night in my scope.
Andy found use for it. A spare key, like the one hanging behind the Union Box window.
You wanted to punish her, so you killed him.
She practically breastfed that man. You wouldn't believe the things she let him do to her.
You stare at them too. In your mind, Her innocence day still turns to leaf, airport bag in hand, silks flowing in her wake.
The dream.
See you tomorrow, Harry. Her voice rings in the evening air, burning.
You saw through her. So did I.
You're delusional. There's nothing to see in the soul of the bourgeois woman. It's the same as the surface. Sick hedonism and desperation.
She did deserve a good punishing.
Made a little love nest up there. Sweaty linen and bottles they would use for God knows what. I saw other men there too, but I can't be sure. Even a woman once.
A red-haired woman? Ruby.
That kind of thing is fine by the party. So is fine by me. But it goes to show you.
Seems like the answer was yes.
You had feelings for that woman.
There's nothing to hold on to. Only this. It's not enough.
The coals of his eyes glisten suddenly, like stones dripping with water. Is he crying?
Man needs to feel something else. It helps if you have your eye on something there. Something pretty. It's weakness, I know.
There have been others.
Yes, over the years. It's not unproletarian to feel something.
Was that why you left the dried flowers behind her window?
No,
Why then?
I don't really know. I was there one night and she was crying, like a child, in the corner of her room on the floor, like she does sometimes.
And when was this?
The day after I killed him.
And you brought her Maybells.
Yes, I don't know why I do the things I do anymore.
It's as if something put the thought there, to leave the flowers.
Something put the thought in you. A compulsion.
What do you mean, put?
A brief flash of terror.
I just got this feeling. From what you said, do you agree?
Maybe. I told you, I have holes in my brain now. I wouldn't just sit here waiting for you.
A sudden pang of rage.
If you came 10 years ago, I would have killed you.
In the silence, the lieutenant draws a line in his notes, then nods at you once more. One more down.
So in conclusion, it wasn't about him. It was about her.
Her.
You hear a low frequency hiss, barely, beneath the audible spectrum. Then it's gone. The lieutenant nods at you in acknowledgement. That's it. Motive. We have it.
Where is she, that Clasier? I haven't seen her there for days.
Safe and sound, sire. Surely you have not misplaced the witness.
She got away, but she let us hear first. She figured out someone was watching her from the C4.
Gone. I knew it. She kept staring into the scope this last week at the island, like she knew. She'd look at night, crying or smoking on the roof, staring right into me. It doesn't matter.
Midtown, across the Bay of Revachol, the oceanic wind washes 40-story towers. Above them, Lausanne Central Aerodrome, a cocoon suspended in the sky by a web of suspension wiring, encircled by hybrid aircraft. On the platform, a young woman is withdrawing from amphetamines, barbiturates, and alcohol. Yet still she smiles among the crowd, among the great ghosts of the city she's leaving, for another, far south. Smaller, distant, hidden. Not like the great chandeliers she sees sparkle in the dusk below her. Streets, towers, tenements and cold water. Across the water, a dark strip of ruins, barely visible, if she didn't squint her eyes. There, on a dilapidated jetty, in a nameless village, 2 police officers and 1 special consultant look across a narrow strip of sea. The ruins of a seafort stick out of the water, built by Philippe II, reappropriated by the Commune, then lost in the landing. He's there, doing what exactly, I don't know. Satellite Officer Vic Mayer points at the ruins. Behind that anti-aircraft something. That's why we can't see him. Special Consultant Heidelstein is optimistic. We'll see the boat when he comes. Let's go get a coffee until then. I know this interesting little place. Where? His voice trails off as the 3 walk down the jetty. As the men go, Patrol Officer Minnow looks back over her shoulder at the crumbling fortification like a rotten tooth rising out of the water. Good luck, Harry, she thinks. You need something good for this.
We could get more. We've got him talking.
Who knows what he's seen and done over the years? You could get more out of him. He likes talking. Enough. Take him in. Bend his arms behind his back and end this.
Been looking at anything else you haven't liked?
A tragic comedy. Druggies, prostitutes, and rentiers.
A strange little engine seems to fire up in him again. It straightens his back. The familiar put of hatred. Detest pushes the cobwebs out of his eyes, pushes the melancholy aside. He relishes it.
More specifically?
Specifically, the whole city is a charnel house. Stripped clean and draped in neon. But Martinez is the worst.
How come?
Because of the racists. Everyone is a racist in Martinez. It's their favorite thing to do in the whole world. Listening to race-themed radio shows. In the ruins, in their lorries. Pumped full of steroids and Radio Revachol 92. Race this, race that. It's all sanctioned by that Social Democratic Union and the farce of a Social Democrat who runs it.
Mr. Clare?
Yes, the fly larva in his container. He let some nihilistic advertising yuppies erect a statue of Philippe III, a syphilitic murderer, on the town square, to spit on the working class. Not since the serfs of ancient Pericarnassus has history produced a more inert social class than the Martinez proletariat. The rest of Revachol at least pretends to rebuild. These people still live in ruins. In tents, like animals, like those boom-boom morons on the ice. A pity they didn't drown in that tent of theirs. The worst of them is the blood-drenched Sucrion on her yacht, licking her lips. The old whore's gone now. Her gun-toting porcelain men are dead. So, actually, no. The worst is that old cock parading around in his uniform, throwing balls all day. It's not enough that the racists and liberals are dancing on our graves. The old loyalist ghouls still parade the ruins too. Every morning he's there, while the parasites he fought to protect are off in Ozon, or Quayamoran, or some other island they built their palaces on, feeding on drugs and having sex with their own children.
Okay then.
That's all the rich really want. sex with their own children. Throughout history, even the royal bloodline of the suzerain, it's all just an excuse for them to have sordid sex. At least that old cunt, Frisell, is now dead. We did good when we pushed him under that horse car. If only, in the 30s, those disco whores...
The disco whores are too much. Hatred shuts down his brain's language center, leaving only a nonsensical sputter. What was that about? Steroids? It piqued your interest. There was something about a statue and nihilistic advertising agency people. Might be worth investigating. And the Sucriant on her yacht? Joyce? Probably. Boom boom morons on thin ice. Going under. Those are the tent kids.
Disco horse?
Whores.
And the races on the gates, pumped full of steroids.
Yes, steroids. A racist on steroids.
You mean Measurehead, right? What is your opinion on him?
What is my opinion? You think the rich man has an opinion on this idiocy? Is the rich man on the radio telling you his opinion? No. The rich man's looking at real estate and fiddling his kids, wading through the corpses.
Ha, yes, but he was there. Why was he there if you can't have an opinion?
Then why was he there?
Scratching away at the race question. You moral intern monkeys keep the conversation going on Channel 4, helping the rich man conduct his swindle with this inanity. You think the rich man cares about your little race games? He rules the whole world, and he laughs at your moral soliloquies.
Now wait a moment. Let's get serious here.
Let's get serious for a moment. This is the real world. And in the real world it means something if your skin is a certain color and you say things.
I've seen the real world. In '06, the flags unfolding, young people marching, being kind to each other. They dreamt of 1,000,000 years in the stars. This here is pale in waiting.
Pale in waiting.
The end. The pale will swallow all of this. The water, the sky, the city. Soon, there is nothing to be serious about. We're all gone. Steroids and radio shows. Probably that Revachol 98 AM. That's irradiating the lumpen. It's the worst.
There was something about the statue on the roundabout and syphilis.
Syphilis is a disease Philip III contracted in a whorehouse. The statue is an abomination.
Abomination.
The bacteria entered his brain and made him squander trillions on sparkling wine, cocainum, and monuments of himself. His son, Philip IV, the insane, contracted syphilis in the womb.
That is technically possible, although Philippe III was not actually syphilitic. He was just mad.
And he still went on to govern Revachol for 25 years. We lost 2 million lives toppling that mode of government. And those grotesque statues, too. Hundreds of them.
But it's still there.
What a keen remark. Yes, it is, isn't it? It's still there. Do you know why?
Because cynical advertising yippies erected a deconstructed version of it.
That's right. Some advertising cockroaches erected a cynical deconstruction of it. We tore it down with honest working-class plastic explosives. And there it is again. Art is a bourgeois establishment. It's an affront to humanity. Every gallery should be bulldozed, and the artists should all be given 30 years of hard labor in Yekokata.
Wait, the bullet hole in Philippe's heart. The statue had been shot. That was him. It had to be. He's already proven capable of taking a far more complicated shot from here. Forget about that. Something much more noteworthy goes off in your brain. Could it have not been that?
It was you. You shot the statue. There was a bullet hole in his heart.
I did. A needless, sentimental gesture. I should have spared the bullet for a deformed monster of liberal capitalism. Shameful, really.
Yes, shameful. So many others to punish over the years. Isn't that right, detective?
Actually, it was not deconstructed so much as captured in the moment of the explosion.
What are you talking about?
It's not a moment to Philippe III anymore. It's a monument to the monument of Philippe III exploding.
What is this madness?
The lieutenant, too, has cocked his head and is looking at you with a strange expression.
It's not madness. It's a monument to what you did, to your program of destatuing Revachol.
So you're saying it's a communist monument now?
Not only.
Yes, and furthermore, design bureau people are probably left-wing too. They often are.
We did always have the prettiest posters. Maybe you're right. That is how dialectics work. But understand this, art is still a bourgeois institution. And they all should still be sent to Yekokata.
Well, of course, straight to Yekokata.
You know, you don't sound like a liberast anymore. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I will be escorted to prison by another Marzovian communist, as I should.
As you ought to. Communism style.
Straight to Yekokata for this old revisionist. At last, atonement for my sins. Revisionism, reactionary ideation, desertion.
He still refuses to believe you subscribe to Mazovian socio-economics, but entertaining the thought has given him some measure of solace. Camaraderie, even. For a second there, he feels less alone. But then, the second passes.
That's it for the statue then. Tell me, Mr. Dross.
The fat union man let them put it there, corrupt as he is. Probably got a fat check for it too, shared with the law.
Accusations of corruption. Push them aside with a sharp change of topic, officer. Put the heat on him. He keeps having opinions about the union's leadership.
You mentioned the union is social democratic, and Mr. Clare farce of a social democrat.
Another hideous disappointment. Unions are the real enemy, the true enemy of the proletariat, placating the masses.
Disappointment. So personal. He displays a familiarity with the union's top brass.
Who's a disappointment? Everard Clare?
That deformed toad? I wouldn't expect him to wipe his own ass. I mean, the brains of the operation, the smart one.
Edgar.
You mean Edgar, Everett's brother?
He talks a big game about uprising and social base. They must have sent the smart one to some university in Le Jardin, where it's alienation this and hegemony that.
He's been sweet-talked by this Edgar. They must have met in person for such animosity to have developed.
We're not the first people you've met from the city, are we?
You can't live alone.
The Clares wouldn't miss a man hidden in their own backyard. Not all this time. Nothing happens in Martinez without them knowing.
Of course, maybe the Clears asked him to. Don't go straight for the kill. Exhaust everything else first. Soften him up.
Have you approached them?
I haven't approached anyone. I hid. It was Edgar who came to me.
How did he know you were here?
He didn't just stumble in like an oaf. He figured it out. Some kids told him about a monster on the island. I told you, he has brains. Stepped right off the boat and walked down where you came. I even kept the door open for him. Thought he was a man of the left, wouldn't rat me out. I was right about one of those things.
When was this?
20 years ago. Neither of them could walk now, could they? They were less fat then.
That's around the time the Clears came to power.
What did you talk about?
Edgar did the talking. Paid his respects like I were a fossil in a uniform. Offered platitudes about the struggle. Flaunted his pink degree. Even quoted Marzov. Never trust a social democrat who quotes Marzov. Oh, and charity too. They love their charity. Offered me blankets and social housing. I still have the gas cooker he brought.
And he let you be here.
Let me be here? The ZOC is an unlawful successor of the Commune of Revachol. We took this fortification from the Loyalists. Even the Clares understand this.
They let him be here. Understanding was a courtesy. But why such a courtesy?
Mr. Dross, did you kill the Crenel mercenary for the Clares? To incite a riot?
You know why I killed that fucker, comrade. As to Edgar, I'm not doing anything for that swine again.
Again? What have you done for Edgar before?
Tried teaching him some Marzovian socioeconomics. They didn't stick. We parted ways.
Okay, he didn't do the hanged man for them, but he's insinuating something. There is more here. You can feel it. He was not outright lying, but almost.
What was the deal between him and Edgar?
The connection comes to you like a splash of cold water. Dark, cold water.
20 years ago, when you met Edgar, the Clares didn't run the Union yet, did they?
He acknowledges it. Here we go. A twist behind the dark bend.
Who did?
That bourgeois cow. Tiffin Holly was her name. Licked the rich man's hand every time he came to town. Never seen a labor leader so hot on mutual cooperation. And money. She liked that too. That Holly was a real bridge builder and a deal maker.
Bordering on sentimentality, it drips out of him, tempered by something familiar to you. A familiar rage.
She was also a woman, wasn't she? Like that Klasha.
She was. And she was real soft on those money men. Had a Barbara Muskova bag over her shoulder that she liked to bring to work.
And then she just disappeared.
Called in, they say. On the eve of battle. Ran away. Vanished like a piss stain.
No, that's not quite it, is it?
Did she? They say her daughter called in, not her personally. But that wasn't really her daughter, was it?
No, I guess it was not.
Edgar had someone make the call. Why is that, Mr. Dross?
She couldn't make the call herself.
Here it is, the bend in the river. The truth.
Why?
Because she was dead.
Just say nothing.
The cow caught a bullet in her right lung, fell into the canal grasping her tit and drowned. Or bled? Hard to say. It was a sloppy job, and a moving target. She was going home, waddling, dressed in yellow, drunk like she often was. The ruins are black around her, and she had a yellow leather bag under her arm. She tried to cross the canal, heading home to Grand Couronne or Betancourt, someplace like that, where they build those new bâtiments for the people who flourish in the hell around her, and the ruins.
Be abstract here. A bit of drama.
It was you.
It was someone. Someone shot her. Or maybe she just fell. I get these violent ideations. My memory is filled with holes, especially the 30s. All I know is...
Another big spike of rage. Different from the one he has for her.
nothing changed. Not in the material base, not in the hegemony. There was no uprising. Just words. The Union fizzled, sogged. Nothing came of it. Nothing.
Edgar didn't keep his part of the deal. If you were to testify to this, give the RCM something on Edgar, you could walk. We would strike everything you've done and process you as a POW. You were in a war. You were on assignment. We could even extradite you to the Samaran People's Republic.
A degenerate worker state. Go shit. No, thank you. I'm Revacholian. My days are short. I will rot away here, in a moral intern cell. I will not testify to anything.
Come on, just a little. You're buddies. Threaten with pain. All human beings respect pain. It's the truth.
You can tell a comrade. It won't be that usable.
I haven't lived and fought for 40 years to end up as a collaborationist. I've heard it on Channel 8, 40 AM, and Le Canal du Crime. Everyone is a blobber in this world. Everyone betrays everyone. They're all already locked up for betrayal. The best ones, the ones with heart, were slaughtered, trampled.
The same old freezing hatred. There is plenty here to work with once he's in custody, and the lieutenant knows it. He gives you a little nod to proceed.
The boom 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 morons on the ice.
They were boom imbeciles. At least they're not there anymore. What more is there to say? They're duped by bourgeois culture. I've seen their kind pop up, like worms after the rain.
What more is there to say? You've always got something to say.
I led them in the church. The boom boom is now in the church.
I don't think now is the time for this, officer.
To no avail.
I saw you. Serves that pigsty right to have them in there. Ghoulish sarcophagus. The ecclesiastes are all pedophiles.
The blood-drenched suppliant on our boat. What is a suppliant?
Your beloved Joyce Messier. A sucrion. A bloodsucker. Women like her feed on the life energy of young working-class men. And they let her. I can't believe the inert lumpen out there. They just let her drive her little boat like that. No violence, not even a robbery. The working class has lost their appetite for justice.
If only he had the ammunition.
I'm glad we talked about this now.
Glad? It's all gone.
What strikes you about this gaunt man is not the stomach pain, or the cough, or the malnutrition. For a man who's spent 44 years hidden in the urban wild,
He's surprisingly okay.
indeed, he speaks fluidly. His movements are rapid, if erratic. His voice, despite the cough, is there. It is capable of expressing complicated ideas. Above all, he seems animated.
Animated by what?
It's a mystery. This animation comes at a cost too. Erratic hand gestures, thought processes cut off like threads, as he just stares at the logs or the reeds. He also suffers mood swings, bubbling to the surface, unconstrained by his nervous system. Great leaps of emotion, from anger to grief, despair, and also flashes of lust simmering in there. Not too common in people his age.
Dementia?
You've seen demented people before. This feels similar, yet different. When his thoughts move, they are lucid, keen even, not senile. Is it some kind of substance damage? Like he's addicted to something? Not only the painkillers he's clearly on.
Wouldn't the foul temper be a byproduct of his life?
Perhaps, but his seems more than that. The inner turmoil takes unexpected turns, as if forced on him in a way. In summary, you sense some underlying neurological disorder.
The lust. Wouldn't his glands have stopped by now?
There is definitely something hormonal there. Whatever the condition he's suffering, there is a sexual element to it.
Mr. Dross, are you on some kind of psychoactive substance?
No. I won't be stuffed full of shit like the rest of this city.
You said you take painkillers.
I take them to cope with pain. The people of this city use painkillers because they have pain. Untreated illnesses, not enough money for a greedy doctor.
Are you sure about him being lucid? Maybe he's just affected by an extreme case of socialism. It's not a downer, rather an upper, judging by his snaps.
Are you on amphetamines?
Like some kind of decadent rock star.
Mr. Dross, are you okay? How is your memory?
No, I'm not okay. I shit blood, and I'm surrounded by insane people.
There it is again, erratic hand motions, bouts of rage, and the stomach thing too, of course. Could it be a symptom of overdosing on something? Something even you have not tried? Keep your eyes peeled.
Yosif Leonovich Dross, you're under arrest for the murder of Elias Kortenayer.
What? But you said I would be taken to the...
This terror is the sum of all the uncontrollable movements and mood swings he's been exhibiting. The wind picks up. The silence on the water is broken all around you. Little shivers of waves appear. The lieutenant continues, like an incantation.
Your wayfarer rights have been suspended. Information provided to the officers on the scene will be used against you by the prosecution. You will be given legal counsel within 1 week and must face court in 44 days. Do you understand? Do you understand?
But
Kim, he's afraid.
No, I don't want to. I have to stay here.
He is a brave man. Why is he unraveling? He's sweating. Beads are forming on his forehead. Pupils are dilated too. Eyes getting blacker and blacker.
Your confirmation is not required, sir. Now on to the boat.
Does he have room for 3?
Not really. We could escort him to the pier, then either one of us can take him inland while the other stays here. But
But then, who watches him while you're coming back here?
Who watches him there while I'll come back for you?
you come back for me? How about I go and send a boat back for you?
What is this farce? This is a fucking farce. I can't.
Something is happening. Stop. Lillian, you could ask her maybe.
Wait.
There it is again. To your north, as it has been since you came to the coast. The reeds whisper, stalks rubbing against each other. But then, in the middle of it,
What?
something completely different. It sounds like a bow, very slowly being drawn against the strings of a violin. A very small violin, made of reeds and rushes.
Maybe there is room for 3 on the boat.
Shush, Kim. Do you hear that?
What?
What are you talking about? Is this really us?
Your skin crawls. A delicate tangle of arms and legs unfolds from the reeds, limb by limb, to then just stand there, moving its scythe-like arms in ghostly silence. It's still there, an unfolding mechanism of reed-like chitin, hovering in place.
What is that?
What are you talking about?
The giant stick insect.
There's nothing there.
The stick insect is over 3 meters tall. It looks straight at you with its tiny pinprick eyes and its grotesquely small head. You feel your legs shaking under you and your gun hand rise instinctively.
There is. I see it.
Tell me what you see, damn it. I can't make out one small thing in the reeds.
Kim, can you see it?
I can see it.
4 simple words, thank God. If he can see, then you're not insane. But that means it's really there, spinning slowly, in absolute silence, its limbs long and slender.
Be very, very careful.